In today's episode, we're diving into the dark side of the circus, the tragic stories of individuals who faced deadly circus animals and the horrifying consequences that followed. We'll explore three shocking events, from a young man whose lion show went horribly wrong to a woman who believed dancing with a wild-born tiger was safe. But first, we'll start with the chilling tale of Victor Petro, the bear whisperer of Russia. On December 17, 2012, the Moscow State Circus was brimming with excitement. The historic venue buzzed with the chatter of nearly 2,000 spectators, families packed into the red velvet seats, children clutching sugary cotton candy, their eyes wide with anticipation as they gazed at the sawdust-covered ring. Outside, the temperature had plummeted to a frigid 5 degrees, making the warmth inside the circus tent all the more inviting. Little did these excited audience members know, they were about to witness a performance that would descend into unimaginable tragedy. Victor Petro, a name synonymous with bear training in Russia, had spent over 2 decades cultivating his reputation as the country's premier bear handler. At 45 years old, he commanded respect and admiration in the circus world, having worked with dozens of bears throughout his illustrious career. But none had been as magnificent or as potentially dangerous as Kaiser, an 800-pound Siberian brown bear, who had been his performance partner for 8 years. Victor's lineage was deeply rooted in the circus. Born into a circus dynasty, he had inherited the art of bear training from his father, Petro, a Soviet-era performer who had been a fixture at the Moscow State Circus since the 1960s. The Petrov name was practically synonymous with bears. Over 3 generations, their family had trained more than 30 of these powerful creatures. Victor's journey began in his childhood. At just 8 years old, he was cleaning cages, and by 12, he was assisting with training sessions. At 17, he bravely performed his first solo act, showcasing a natural talent for connecting with bears. By 2012, however, Victor had become infamous not only for his skill, but also for his controversial training methods and his unwavering refusal to use safety barriers during performances. He frequently boasted that a true master had no need for a cage, a sentiment that dismissed the valid concerns of his fellow trainers. His daring shows drew massive crowds eager to witness his fearless interactions with the massive bears. But he also faced increasing criticism from animal welfare activists who protested outside his performances, condemning his methods as cruel and unnecessarily dangerous. Even his father, a seasoned veteran of the circus, had warned him about becoming too confident, a piece of advice that Victor often brushed aside. Kaiser, the massive Siberian brown bear, entered Victor's life in 2004. Born in captivity as part of a breeding program that supplied animals to circuses across Russia, Kaiser was destined for the spotlight. From the outset, their relationship was notably different from Victor's interactions with other bears. While most trainers maintained a strict professional distance, Victor treated Kaiser almost like a pet. He would often enter the bear's enclosure alone and even sleep nearby during extended training periods. This unconventional behavior drew criticism from his peers, who cautioned against blurring the lines between trainer and animal. But Victor, ever confident in his abilities, dismissed their concerns with his trademark arrogance. Kaiser's early years in the circus ring were promising. The bear learned quickly, mastering complex routines that left audiences in awe. His intelligence and apparent willingness to perform made him a star, but there were ominous signs that Victor either failed to recognize or chose to ignore. In 2009, during a performance, Kaiser inexplicably stopped mid-routine, refusing commands for several long minutes. The audience shifted uncomfortably as Victor struggled to regain control, but eventually the bear resumed as if nothing had happened. Then in 2011, during a rehearsal, Kaiser snapped at Victor, tearing his elaborate costume. Each incident was carefully documented in the circus logs, but Victor downplayed them as mere personality quirks, attributing them to the bear having an off day. That day, December 17th, as the circus prepared for its evening performance, an electric atmosphere filled the air. Christmas decorations adorned the historic venue, and the enticing aroma of popcorn and sweet cotton candy wafted through the corridors. Outside, eager patrons gathered despite the bitter cold. their excitement palpable as they lined up for the evening spectacle. Inside, the stage was meticulously set for another night of breathtaking performances. But for Victor Petro, this show would be unlike any other he had ever experienced. Backstage, there were troubling signs. Kaiser was unusually agitated, pacing restlessly in his holding area and stubbornly refusing to respond to commands during the pre-show check. Two of Victor's handlers, Dmitry Volov, the senior handler, and Ivan Petro, Victor's younger cousin, approached him with their concerns. Dmitry pointed out that Kaiser had barely touched his morning meal, a clear indication that something was amiss, and suggested that they should consider canceling the act. Victor, however, dismissed their concerns with a dismissive wave of his hand, his attention focused on straightening his crimson performance jacket, which was adorned with ornate gold buttons. To Victor, the bear was simply excited for the performance and eager to get into the ring. What Victor didn't know was that Kaiser had been suffering from an undiagnosed dental abscess, a painful condition that was causing him significant discomfort. The bear's medical checkups had been sporadic at best, another corner that Victor had cut, believing that his deep understanding of Kaiser made veterinary oversight unnecessary. This oversight would prove to be a fatal mistake. The act began as it had hundreds of times before. The lights dimmed, the music swelled, and Victor Petro confidently strode into the ring, bathed in the spotlight, his arms raised in a triumphant gesture. The audience erupted in thunderous applause, eager to witness the spectacle that was about to unfold. The orchestra struck up a dramatic Russian folk tune, building anticipation for Kaiser's grand entrance. As the massive bear emerged from behind the curtain, standing impressively on his hind legs, he towered over Victor, reaching a height of nearly 8 feet tall. The audience gasped, captivated by the sheer size and power of the creature. The routine commenced smoothly. Kaiser executed his standard tricks with practiced precision, rolling a large reinforced barrel across the ring, dancing gracefully on his hind legs, and balancing with remarkable poise on a specially constructed platform. But observant audience members, including M. Kitov, a retired animal trainer with decades of experience, noticed concerning details in Kaiser's behavior. The bear's movements appeared jerky and uncertain. His eyes darted nervously around the ring, and his ears remained pinned back against his head, all clear signs of stress that Victor either failed to recognize or chose to ignore. Halfway through the performance, during a brief pause between tricks, Kaiser emitted a low, guttural growl that was not part of the act. The unsettling sound echoed through the tent, sending shivers down the spines of the audience and causing several children in the front row to shrink back in their seats, instinctively sensing danger. Victor responded by sharply tapping the bear's nose with his training stick, a seemingly innocuous gesture that would prove to be his final, fatal mistake. The act was building toward its dramatic finale, the loving embrace, a crowd-pleasing moment where Kaiser would gently hug Victor before they both took a final bow, acknowledging the audience's applause. As Victor approached the bear with open arms, Kaiser suddenly rose to his full height, his massive frame casting a menacing shadow over the ring. The audience held its collective breath, anticipating the heartwarming conclusion they had come to expect. But what happened next would forever haunt the memories of those who were present. Instead of the expected embrace, Kaiser's massive forelimb lashed out with astonishing speed, slamming into Victor with devastating force and sending him staggering backward. He barely had time to react before his back slammed against the wooden barrier at the edge of the ring. A sickening crack echoed through the tent as ribs gave way under the bear's immense strength. Before Victor could regain his footing, Kaiser's powerful jaws clamped down on his shoulder, crushing bone with terrifying ease. Blood began to seep through his crimson jacket, staining the bear's thick, tawny fur a deep, glistening red. For a moment, the audience sat frozen in stunned disbelief, many unsure if what they were witnessing was part of the act. The realization that it wasn't washed over them in a wave of horror as Kaiser began to drag Victor's struggling form toward the back curtain, leaving a gruesome trail of blood across the sawdust-covered ring. The tent erupted in chaos as children screamed, parents desperately covered their eyes, and the collective sound of terrified gasps filled the air. Handlers rushed forward armed with tranquilizer guns, but in the cramped space behind the curtain, they were unable to get a clear shot. The bear's massive frame blocked their view as he continued his brutal assault on Victor. The horrific sound of tearing flesh and breaking bones mingled with Kaiser's deep, guttural growls, creating a chilling cacophony of violence that reverberated throughout the historic circus building. Dmitry Volov, the senior handler, bravely attempted to distract Kaiser, employing emergency protocols by banging metal bars together and spraying fire extinguishers in the bear's face. But the bear, now fully consumed by primal instinct, refused to release his former trainer. For 28 agonizing minutes, the brutal attack continued, while the audience was being evacuated from the tent and emergency services personnel rushed to the scene. Victor's father, Victor Petro, watched helplessly as his worst fears materialized before his very eyes. He had warned his son countless times about his reckless approach to safety, but his warnings had gone unheeded, and now they had culminated in this devastating tragedy. The elderly man collapsed in grief and had to be treated for shock by the paramedics on scene. When veterinarians finally managed to subdue Kaiser with multiple tranquilizer darts, Victor's body was barely recognizable. The bear had crushed his rib cage, severed his left arm, and inflicted catastrophic damage to his head and neck. Emergency responders pronounced him dead at the scene, noting that it was one of the most violent animal attacks they had ever witnessed. The investigation that followed revealed a series of disturbing details about Victor's operating practices. Kaiser's medical records showed that he had not received any veterinary care for the past 18 months, a blatant violation of circus protocols. Training logs indicated multiple instances of aggressive behavior exhibited by Kaiser, all of which had been ignored or downplayed by Victor. Most damning of all was the discovery that Victor had been deliberately skipping Kaiser's meals before performances, believing that a hungry bear would be more compliant and motivated to perform. The subsequent autopsy of Victor's body revealed over 140 distinct wounds, a testament to the brutality of the attack. However, it was the crushing force of Kaiser's initial embrace that had ultimately proven fatal. Forensic experts estimated that the bear had exerted over 12,200 pounds of pressure, collapsing Victor's chest cavity within seconds of the attack. Kaiser's own medical examination, conducted after the incident, revealed the presence of a severe dental abscess, which had likely contributed to his agitated and aggressive state. The pain would have been excruciating, making the bear particularly volatile during any form of physical contact. Despite fervent calls from some animal welfare advocates for Kaiser to be rehabilitated and rehomed in a sanctuary, Russian circus authorities ultimately deemed him too dangerous to be kept alive. The bear was euthanized 3 days after the tragic attack, bringing a somber end to a life marked by both performance and tragedy. Victor's death sent shockwaves throughout the circus world, raising serious concerns about the ethical implications of working with wild animals and the potential dangers involved. But just 2 years later, another performer would face an even more horrific fate, pushing those fears to a new level. The story of 27-year-old Maria Chen is a chilling reminder of how quickly a seemingly perfect performance can turn deadly. Maria Chen was known for her innovative and daring tiger dance, a flawless routine that combined the grace of ballet with the raw power of a wild animal. But on one fateful evening, her performance took a deadly turn when her rare white Bengal tiger, with no prior signs of aggression, suddenly attacked her in front of a horrified audience. How could a moment so perfect, so seemingly controlled, descend into something so tragic in the blink of an eye? On the evening of January 8, 2014, the bright lights of the Las Vegas Strip seemed to pale in comparison to the dazzling spectacles that unfolded within its legendary venues. For decades, performers in Las Vegas had been pushing the boundaries of entertainment, creating shows that seamlessly blended danger with artistry. But sometimes that delicate balance tips precariously toward disaster, as was the case for Maria Chen, whose revolutionary tiger act would ultimately end in a tragedy that forever changed the landscape of circus entertainment. Born to Chinese immigrants in San Francisco, Maria Chen defied expectations from an early age. Instead of following a traditional path, she forged her own unique way, combining her two greatest passions, dance and wild animals. From her earliest childhood memories, she had been captivated by both art forms, spending countless hours watching nature documentaries while simultaneously practicing her ballet steps. At the age of 18, Maria's talent and dedication earned her a prestigious scholarship to Juilliard, the renowned performing arts conservatory in New York City. There, she honed her skills in dance while secretly taking courses in animal behavior at a local university. She was determined to find a way to merge her two passions, to create a show that had never been seen before. Her big break came in 2008 when a talent scout from the Mirage, one of Las Vegas's most iconic hotels, spotted her performing in a contemporary dance show in Los Angeles. The Mirage was looking for someone to revitalize their aging circus program, to bring a fresh and innovative perspective to their stage. Maria's unique vision, which combined classical ballet with the raw power and beauty of big cat performance, immediately caught their attention. Within months, Maria was immersed in intensive training with veteran tiger handlers, learning the intricate art of working with these powerful predators. The Mirage invested millions of dollars into Dance of the Wild, transforming their theater into a state-of-the-art performance venue, specifically designed to showcase Maria's groundbreaking show. The show quickly became the hottest ticket in Las Vegas, grossing over $80 million in its first 3 years. Critics hailed it as a reimagining of the traditional circus, praising Maria's innovative approach to blending art with animal performances. Her work caught the attention of major media outlets around the world, solidifying her reputation as a visionary artist. Arjun, the magnificent white Bengal tiger, entered Maria's life when he was just a 6-month-old cub. Maria worked tirelessly alongside experienced trainers, learning the nuances of working with tigers. She observed their behavior, studied their instincts, and gradually developed a deep bond with Arjun. Her unique vision was the driving force behind bringing the stunning white Bengal tiger into the spotlight. Together, Maria and Arjun performed over 2,000 shows without a single incident. Their act was so successful and critically acclaimed that other casinos in Las Vegas began developing their own animal dance fusion shows, eager to capitalize on the trend. However, none of them could quite match the artistry, precision, and emotional depth of Maria and Arjun's performance. Tigers, as a species, are the largest of all big cats, apex predators with incredible power and agility. Male Bengal tigers can reach up to 10 feet in length and weigh over 500 pounds. Their bite force measures an astounding 1,000 pounds per square inch, more than enough to crush bone with ease. Their 4-inch retractable claws are razor-sharp, capable of tearing through flesh with terrifying efficiency. A single swipe from a tiger's powerful forelimb is enough to break a human skull or knock down prey twice its size. White Bengal tigers like Arjun are an even rarer anomaly, a genetic variation caused by a recessive genetic trait. Fewer than 200 white Bengal tigers exist in captivity, and they are almost non-existent in the wild, making Arjun an even more special and captivating performer. That January evening, the 8:30 p.m. performance of Dance of the Wild began like any other. The 2,800-seat theater was packed to capacity, with tickets having been sold out months in advance. Tourists from around the world and Las Vegas regulars filled the seats, many returning for their second or third viewing of what had been hailed as the most mesmerizing show on the Strip. As the lights dimmed and the music swelled, Maria moved gracefully onto the stage in her signature red and gold costume, the spotlight following her fluid movements. The audience erupted in applause, their excitement building as they anticipated the entrance of the magnificent Arjun. When the white Bengal tiger finally appeared, his muscular frame gleaming under the bright lights, a collective gasp of appreciation rippled through the crowd. At 520 pounds, the Bengal tiger moved with surprising grace, matching Maria's choreography with practiced precision. For 40 minutes, the show unfolded flawlessly. Maria and Arjun moved seamlessly through their intricate routine, a mesmerizing display of trust and artistry. She performed elegant pirouettes, her movements fluid and graceful, while he stalked in perfect synchronization, his powerful muscles rippling beneath his pristine white fur. Together, they told a wordless story of connection, respect, and a deep bond between human and beast. The audience was utterly captivated, their eyes fixed on the stage, completely unaware of the tragedy that was about to unfold before them. Then, during their signature ballet sequence, a moment of breathtaking beauty that always drew gasps from the audience, everything changed in an instant. without warning or provocation. Arjun, who had just completed a perfect series of choreographed movements, suddenly turned on Maria. In a split second, the illusion of control shattered, revealing the unpredictable nature of the wild animal beneath the years of training. The tiger's massive frame launched through the air, slamming into Maria with devastating force. Under the bright lights and in full view of the horrified audience, Arjun's jaws clamped down on Maria's throat and chest. The sickening sound of her bones crushing under the force of his bite echoed through the suddenly silent theater. His powerful claws tore through her costume and flesh, the pristine stage floor quickly becoming slick with blood. The attack was quick, brutal, and completely unexpected. Unlike other documented tiger attacks, where there had been warning signs or obvious triggers, this one offered no explanation. One moment, they were dancing in perfect harmony. The next, Arjun's primal instincts had completely overwhelmed years of training and conditioning. The emergency response team, which had been meticulously trained for this exact scenario but never expected to use it, reacted instantly. David Martinez, the head of security for the Mirage, led the coordinated effort, his years of training kicking in, despite the shock of the situation. The first tranquilizer dart hit Arjun perfectly in his flank, even as he continued his savage attack center stage. A second dart followed 30 seconds later, finally causing the massive tiger to collapse beside Maria's motionless form. The entire attack lasted less than 2 minutes, but the damage was catastrophic. Maria lay in the center of the stage, her once beautiful costume now in shreds and soaked crimson. Emergency medical personnel reached her within moments, their faces grim as they assessed the extent of her injuries. The list of trauma was extensive. Arjun's powerful bite had crushed her throat, shattering her trachea. Multiple ribs were broken, with bone fragments piercing her lungs. The tiger's fangs had severed her left carotid artery, leading to massive blood loss. Deep claw wounds crossed her torso, arms, and face, some penetrating deep into the bone. Paramedics worked frantically to stabilize her as they rushed her toward Desert Springs Hospital, about 4 miles away. In the ambulance, Maria's heart stopped twice. Each time they managed to revive her, but her blood pressure continued to drop despite their best efforts. She received multiple units of blood during the short journey, but the injuries were simply too severe. Maria Chen passed away shortly after arrival at the hospital, leaving behind a legacy of artistry and a haunting reminder of the inherent risks involved in working with wild animals. This event shook the entertainment industry and triggered a serious discussion on having animals perform in circuses and shows. A lot of activists started animal protection campaigns more vigorously, but another story would happen that would bring even more anger: the story of Alex Lacey. Alex Lacey was known as a promising animal trainer with a unique approach. He was only 22 years old, and he was already getting a lot of attention in the circus business. He was known for his great bond with the animals he trained, especially lions. But what seemed like a bright future was tragically cut short during a performance in 2024. Alex grew up surrounded by animals because his parents were circus performers. Early on, he developed a strong connection with lions and spent a lot of time learning how to train them. He was naturally talented and had a great understanding of the behavior of the animals. He quickly became famous for his ability to control even the most difficult lions. His big break came when he was given the chance to lead his own act with 3 adult lions: Brutus, Max, and Caesar. Alex spent months working with the lions to build trust and respect before their first performance in 2024. However, on one terrible evening, everything went wrong, showing the inherent risks of having wild animals in entertainment. As Alex entered the ring, the audience got excited because they were looking forward to his performance. He looked brave and sure of himself, but he didn't know that disaster was about to strike. The lions were restless from the beginning. They growled a lot and paced, which made Alex nervous, but he decided to go on with the act. The performance started off well. Alex led the lions through a number of tricks, and the audience was amazed at how strong and controlled they were. But as the act went on, the lions got more and more agitated. Caesar suddenly broke away from the group and went towards Alex, who was caught off guard. Before Alex could respond, Brutus and Max also joined in, attacking him from all directions. The audience screamed and ran in fear as the lions swarmed Alex, biting and clawing at him. The other trainers quickly stepped in to try to stop the attack, but the lions were too strong and violent. The attack lasted for several long minutes, and Alex had serious injuries. When the trainers were finally able to get the lions away and get Alex to safety, it was already too late. Alex died from his injuries soon after, leaving everyone shocked and saddened. The tragedy of Alex Lacey made people think a lot about the ethics of having animals in circuses again. Animal rights groups used his death to show how risky and bad it is to force wild animals to do tricks for entertainment. They said that animals like lions should live in their natural environments instead of being held in captivity and forced to perform. The death of Alex Lacey had a lasting impact on the circus business. A lot of circuses made stricter safety rules and changed their acts to treat animals more humanely. Some circuses even got rid of animal acts altogether because they thought it was too risky and controversial. The stories of Victor Petro, Maria Chen, and Alex Lacey show how dangerous it can be to work with wild animals. Even though these trainers had a lot of experience in training, they still couldn't stop the animals from acting on their natural instincts. These tragedies remind us to think about the welfare of both people and animals in the entertainment business. These stories serve as stark reminders of the inherent risks involved in working with wild animals, highlighting the unpredictable nature of even the most well-trained creatures. Despite the precautions and safety measures in place, the potential for tragedy always looms. If you found these stories compelling, please consider subscribing to our channel for more in-depth explorations of fascinating and sometimes unsettling events. Your support helps us to continue bringing you quality content, and we appreciate your viewership. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you for watching.